The first time I stepped into the shimmering expanse of the Veyari Palace, I felt both awed and terrified. Its towers spiraled impossibly high into the cobalt sky of the distant planet Tyra 6, and the energy fields surrounding its walls pulsed like the heartbeat of a living organism. I had been recruited, or rather volunteered, for an assignment I didn't fully understand. Humanity had been making tentative contact with the Veyari, a race of highly intelligent, almost ethereal beings whose technology surpassed ours in ways that were both exhilarating and frightening. I had been sent initially as an observer, a diplomatic liaison to study the alien culture and report back to Earth Command. But things changed the moment I met the Queen. She was magnificent. Her form was humanoid but taller than any human I had ever seen, her skin a deep iridescent violet that shimmered under the palace lights. Her eyes were pools of molten silver, and her voice, though soft, resonated with authority and something deeply intimate, as if she could reach into my mind and pull out my thoughts without effort. "I have watched you, human," she said, her words translating perfectly into my language through the Veyari neural translators embedded in my suit. "You see things clearly, yet your loyalty is not yet decided. I need someone to act on my behalf." I swallowed. "Act how, Your Majesty?" "To spy," she replied, her silver eyes locking onto mine. "To gather information. There are factions within my court plotting against me, against our peace with your world. I need someone who can move unnoticed, someone the others would never suspect. I need you." I didn't think. I couldn't. Something about her presence made my mind go blank. "Yes," I said before I even realized it. "I'll do it." Her lips curved into a smile that was almost human. "Good. Come closer. I will explain." The Queen led me through corridors that glimmered like liquid metal, each turn revealing chambers of indescribable beauty. Crystalline flora hovered midair, glowing softly. Pools of liquid reflected the walls, though the reflections were distorted and almost sentient. I realized this was not just architecture. It was a statement of power, of intelligence, of something I could barely comprehend. "We have enemies in the court," she said as we walked. "Not all of my advisors share my vision. Some seek to overthrow me, to destabilize our alliances with other races, including yours. You will infiltrate, observe, and report. You must never be seen as a spy, never be detected." I nodded, though the weight of the task pressed down on me. I wasn't trained for espionage. I was just human, ordinary in the grand scheme of the galaxy. And yet, here I was, entrusted with a mission that could alter the course of interstellar diplomacy. "You must learn quickly," she continued, "and you must be convincing. Some truths are dangerous. Some lies are necessary. Can you do this?" I'll try," I said. Her hand brushed against mine. A wave of warmth surged through me, not entirely physical. It was as if her touch unlocked a sliver of courage I didn't know I had. "You will," she said. My first task was observation. I was embedded in the court, appearing as a translator and cultural advisor. The alien courtiers were mesmerizing. Their voices resonated in harmonies. Their movements were precise and elegant. Their eyes, always watching, seemed to measure my every thought. It didn't take long to discover the tensions. Certain advisors whispered in darkened corners, their words laced with suspicion of both the Queen and humanity. I overheard plans to sabotage our communication channels, to disrupt the fragile alliances we were forming. It was subtle, insidious, and frightening. At night, I returned to the Queen's private chamber to relay what I had learned. She listened carefully, her expression serene yet sharp. "You are learning," she said. "Soon, you will understand the full gravity of your role. But beware, trust is a dangerous commodity in this palace." I began to notice something strange. As I spied and reported, I felt connected to her in ways I couldn't explain. It was more than loyalty or duty. I felt her thoughts brush against mine, her fears, her strategies, even the subtle sorrow she hid behind her regal composure. Each report I delivered seemed to draw us closer. I was becoming more than an agent. I was becoming part of her consciousness, in a sense I couldn't articulate. One night, a whisper of rebellion reached my ears, a plot to assassinate her during the Festival of Light, a celebration of the planet's twin moons. Panic surged through me. This was the moment the Queen had warned me about. I had to act. I moved through the palace's shadowed halls, following the conspirators. Their forms shimmered under the lights, but I had learned to notice the slightest anomalies in their aura, the subtle tension in their bodies. I intercepted them before they could reach the Queen's chamber, using nothing more than my wits and the faint knowledge of her own psychic cues that had begun to imprint on my mind. When I returned to her, panting, she studied me quietly. "You did well," she said. "But you are beginning to understand the risks of this work. It is not just about observing. It is about protecting the future, sometimes at the cost of yourself." I didn't respond. I only nodded, the adrenaline still coursing through my veins. Days passed, and the mission grew more dangerous. The factions in the court had noticed my unusual behavior, how I lingered where others did not, how I seemed to anticipate threats. Rumors began to circulate. One night, an advisor cornered me in the palace gardens, their form flickering between humanoid and ethereal. "You are meddling where you do not belong," they hissed. "You serve a queen who is not your master. You are a human. You do not belong here. Leave now or face consequences." I stood my ground. "I belong where I choose," I said, though fear pressed in my chest. The advisor's form shimmered violently. "You do not understand what you are interfering with. The Queen is not as benevolent as you think." "I've seen her," I replied. "I've seen her heart, and it is more than you understand." They regarded me for a long moment, then dissipated into the night like smoke. I realized the palace itself was watching me, testing me, preparing me for what was to come. Then came the final betrayal. One of the Queen's most trusted generals attempted a coup, taking control of the palace's defense systems and locking down the city. I barely escaped with her, running through corridors that were suddenly alien and hostile. Security drones, usually docile, turned against us, guided by the general's commands. "We must reach the central spire," the Queen said, her voice a calm anchor amid chaos. "It houses the main control node. From there, we can regain command." We ran together, weaving through the labyrinthine passages. I covered her back, improvising defenses with the tools I had scavenged along the way. I realized then how much I had grown, how human courage could intersect with alien intellect to create something formidable. At the spire, I bypassed the security protocols, allowing the Queen to regain control. She initiated a countermeasure that neutralized the general's forces. The palace was alive again, pulsing with its protective energy. When it was over, she turned to me. "You have done more than spy. You have saved my life, my rule, and our alliance. Few humans would have survived this, let alone acted with such precision." I stared at her, exhausted, exhilarated, and changed. "I didn't think," I admitted. "I just followed you." Her silver eyes softened, and she reached out, her hand brushing mine again. "That is sometimes all that is required: trust, courage, instinct." Weeks later, peace returned to the Vayari Palace. The conspirators were exiled, the general imprisoned in a containment field that neutralized both physical and psychic powers. The Queen restored her court, and I returned to my role as a diplomat, though nothing felt the same. I had walked through the shadows of an alien empire and emerged not only alive but honored, trusted, and transformed. Then came the moment I never expected. "You have served me well," the Queen said during one of our private meetings. "And yet there is more work to be done. I ask this of you, not as my agent, but as my partner." I blinked, uncertain. "Partner?" "Yes," she said, her voice unwavering. "Not in the way your species might immediately understand, but in the sense that you are now part of this world, part of its future. I do not trust easily, human, but I trust you. Will you remain with me, not as a spy, but as someone who walks beside me?" I swallowed. My entire body ached with relief, anticipation, and a strange, thrilling hope. "Yes," I said, finally thinking this time, every word intentional. "I will." Her smile was radiant, almost blinding. And in that moment, I understood the true nature of loyalty, courage, and trust. It wasn't about obedience or orders or even duty. It was about recognizing the life and vision of another and choosing to protect it with everything you had. The Veari Palace no longer felt alien. It felt like a home, a world intertwined with mine. I had entered as an observer, a human out of place. But I left as something more, an equal, a protector, a partner to the Queen whose faith in me had changed the course of her empire and, perhaps, the galaxy.